Mato kano yon son ban kano yon ni
I'm from Tampa, Florida, but now I live in Denver, and for a living I work in IT right now. I'm very interested in spirituality and the tools of spirituality, so inevitably I found ayahuasca and searching for new ways to be connected with my spirituality. And I've known about it for several years, but it was until recently that me and a very good friend decided to make the jump and go do it together. I knew that plant was a healer, and that it was also something that would show you the truth and that you couldn't lie to it. You couldn't BS it. You had to just accept what it was telling you, which for me sounded really great because I'm really good at BSing myself. The universe just kind of guided me here. I didn't have a whole lot of intentions until I got here, but it just sort of worked itself out. The flexibility was key because we only wanted to do a few days. We didn't want to do 5 or 7, which a lot of places I came across were. And it seemed affordable as well. But more so than anything, when I found it, it just really like resonated with me, and I knew that that was where I needed to go. But it was funny because like after I booked the trip, it kind of hit me that maybe I should look at the reviews. And after I did, they were amazing, which gave me so much more confidence in coming here. Well, I had 2 intentions for my first ceremony, and I expected those intentions to be fulfilled. Expectation is actually kind of a bad word to use. I just had a lot of hope that it would. But for me, it was to go through ego death and then to heal my body, especially my stomach. But I had a second ceremony, and that had a lot more intentions with a lot more questions and a lot more answers. So the first experience was very physical and a lot of suffering and a lot of struggle. And there weren't a lot of communications between me and the ayahuasca. The only things it really were able to say to me were control, let go, and release. Talking to me about just letting go of my ego and letting go of all the control I have in the world. And then it had to kill my ego in that. And I suffered death, and I was buried in sheets by shamans. Very, very like, actually in this space that I'm sitting right now is where I was buried. And then I was reborn after. And then the next ceremony, once I was cleansed and reborn, the ayahuasca was able to talk to me as clear as I'm talking to you right now. And I went through a lot of internal work inside myself, mostly mental, because the first day was physical. The second day was a mental cleanse. And the ayahuasca showed me my path, what I needed to do in life. Many things I already knew, but things that I wouldn't accept and I wouldn't take action towards. And the ayahuasca was very assertive in the sense that I needed to make certain changes, or it was very afraid for me. And as I would work through each thing, there would be a purge. And the second night, it wasn't me, but it was the people around me. As soon as I would work through something mentally, someone would purge in the room. And it was just, the timing was absolutely perfect. And we were all going through this thing together. And at one point, ayahuasca showed me this vision of the 4 gentlemen I was with. We were all shirtless and sweaty in a gym, and we were working out. And we were working through the ayahuasca together as a team and as a group of men. And nothing was going to stop us. And in the end, I think the conversations I had with the men in that room, we all shared a very similar experience, although it was very different for each one of us. But the ayahuasca, if you surrender And if you will listen to it and accept it, it will tell you what you need to know about whatever it is that you want to know. It was interesting because while you're on the ayahuasca, your ego is kind of taking a backseat, and the ayahuasca is controlling everything, which is a very unique experience because your ego, my ego, has controlled me my entire life. It's always been the driver. So to sit in the passenger seat and let the ayahuasca drive was very interesting. But as I would start to come down from the effects, they would switch seats and my ego would start to drive. But the ayahuasca was like the backseat passenger telling me like to slow down or go do this, do that. So I was able to translate everything during the ayahuasca experience into an experience that I could understand in this state of mind with this ego, which was very important because you understand things during the ceremony that you won't have the same clarity on afterwards. But if you do that process and you really work with what you went through in the ceremony and relive it over and over and over as you're coming back to yourself, you're able to take all that energy and transition it back into your ego, which is going to have to drive, but it learned from the ayahuasca. So you can't not have a driver. There was a question, so I wrote down these 9 questions, and the very first one was, should I leave Denver? And then where should I go if I should leave? And the ayahuasca was very, that was the biggest thing we had to work on last night. That was the most difficult part, and the ayahuasca would say, no Denver, Denver bad, Asheville yes, Asheville muy bueno, Asheville, Denver bad, and I'd be like, oh okay, and it's like, no, you're not understanding. I went through that for 45 minutes, and 45 minutes on ayahuasca is like 4 hours, for me at least, and it was a battle, and I had to make a lot of sacrifice, meaning a lot of people in the room had to purge that for me. Because the ayahuasca knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that for myself and that I needed that support. So, yeah. And I guess I should add that after my experience, I went back to my room, spent several hours just thinking about everything, and then finally I got on my phone and I wrote my boss an email and told him that I was leaving Denver and I was moving to Asheville, and that was it. I made that commitment, and I had to make that commitment in that moment. I lost focus, and the ayahuasca helped give me clarity. One of the questions I asked it was to show me myself and to make me love myself. And it showed me my face right here, and I was looking at myself, and I saw myself through my aunt's eyes, and she always tells me how handsome I am, and I think that was like the very first time I actually understood it, because the ayahuasca helped me perceive it through her vision, and I was able to see myself and see how beautiful I was and the person I was. And then I also asked it what my spirit animal was, because I knew if I understood my spirit animal, I would understand more about myself. And it turned me into one of the dogs here at the retreat center, Lester, and it told me that I was a dog. And my energy was very happy and all over the place, and I loved communing with people and socializing with them, but I didn't like to stick with any one person. I like to bounce around. I'm very happy and joyful, like a child, but more so like a dog. And at the same time, there's certain parts of me that are annoying, just like a dog, and dog that's constantly nagging you to play fetch or something. And it explained to me that just like that, for myself, I can tend to annoy other people when I am in immense joy, because I'm so happy with that joy that I become selfish with it, just like a dog does. But it's innocent. And so the ayahuasca taught me to accept it and be grateful for it, and to understand that if I annoy people, I'm there to teach them a lesson of suffering. And if they're not willing to accept that lesson, then they still have some work to do for themselves. So I feel like my life here on Earth, I'm 29, so the last 29 years of my life, we're building up these false programs and stories in my head. And my soul, who I am, the core of who I actually am, was underneath all of that. And the ayahuasca cleared everything so that I was able to be this core of what I am again. And that thing that I'm saying is just like this thing of love and acceptance and like surrender and peace and beauty. So yeah. You know, another thing that I researched about ayahuasca before I got here, I don't know if this is true, but like scientifically they say that ayahuasca creates new neural pathways in your head. And I can really feel that because my thoughts are very pure and clean, and they're not like they were before I got here. They were very misguided before, very angry, judgmental, skeptical, and now they're more surrendered and more accepting. And I think that that is going to help me become the person that I know I am. I really do think that it could be a preventative medicine, in the sense that if you're healthy and you're clean, which is what ayahuasca does to you, you don't have to worry about being sick. In America, we like to talk about healthcare, but that's not really what we should call it. We should call it sick care, because we really don't go and heal ourselves until after we're already sick. But the best preventative medicine to being sick is to take care of yourself before you're sick and make sure your body is always strong. I would recommend ayahuasca to absolutely everyone. And I know that everyone might not have a good first experience. They might not have a good second experience. But I think if you continue to work with it, and there's one very important thing that you have to do with ayahuasca, and you must surrender. You must release. And if you don't, it is painful. But when you release, that is when the ayahuasca speaks to you, and that is when you find like the pure joy and connectedness that we all are. I saw myself in the mirror before I got here with my resting face, and it wasn't very happy. It was just like, whatever. And then I looked at myself in the mirror this morning, and I had a resting, just smile. Like my face was just like lit up and glowing. And I remember feeling this before when I lived in Asheville, which is why it's going to be important for me to go back there.